Willkommen, this is Julia.
And this is Shane. And this is Think Plant-Based. Think Plant-Based. Make sure to check out recipes, health tips, travel tips at www.thinkplantbased.com.
And we're officially on iTunes, so please rate and write us a review on iTunes.
Write us a review. Give us 2 stars, 3 stars, maybe 5 stars. Let us know.
For sure, 5.
Yeah, I mean, who would give us 2 stars anyways, right? But yeah, make sure to do that because that's how we get found.
So it's 2020 and we have
2020, our first podcast of the year.
Yeah.
Always the funnest, right?
Yeah, isn't it? It's
Usually.
a great start. And I think we started quite positively, right? In a way. So we have a very special guest.
Yes,
we always do.
We have a special guest. Kyle, how you doing this morning?
Hi.
I'm well. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Great.
Our pleasure.
Yeah.
So tell listeners a little bit more about yourself and what you all do.
Sure. So I call myself a growth coach, and I have my own business doing that. And what that means essentially is I work with clients on a personal or professional level, and oftentimes both levels, to sort of grow clarity around what's important to them in their relationships and their work lives, whatever is important to them in their life, and how to actually build around that, either building a routine they can put into their life that helps them achieve the goals that bring them meaning and purpose, as well as improves communication with themselves and with others. Again, whether this be with their coworkers or colleagues in the office, or even walking down the street, or in a cafe talking to a stranger, or with loved ones and family at home. So it's a bit of a mix of sort of executive or professional coaching as well as life coaching on a personal level. But in my experience, they're not really that different. I mean, if for example, I often teach meditation and work with my clients around meditation, right, and helping increase focus, or not having to react to everything, especially a lot of stressors in their lives.
That's really hard to do.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Especially when you're involved in the social media, right? Like it's set up to always judge, to like or say something. Like if you just start like reading comments of like a video, you don't even agree, it like stirs up so much, right? And you just get sucked in.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And it's not even, it's designed to make you react, right? I mean, the algorithms on YouTube
the
or
bright
Instagram
lights.
feeds.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's meant to keep your attention and keep you there. They did a very good job.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. And it's almost on an unconscious level too, right? Even when you know about it, it's still effective. That's sort of scary part, right? But but that's also true of whether you're scrolling on your phone in the bathroom, or you're in a meeting at work and someone says something kind of snide or throws you under the bus. The reactivity is sort of operates in the same way, where an emotion flares and immediately you're thrust into sort of let's say anger. If a coworker embarrasses you in front of your boss, there's that split second of reactivity and sort of flaring up. But what you do after that split second is so powerful and is actually within your control, right? And that's what I work through with meditation and mindfulness, and just allowing space of noticing things as they arise, emotions as they arise, and just allowing a little bit of space for them to be just for a second, to give you a little bit more time to respond instead of react. So that's why I say, I mean, whether you're working on mindfulness, for example, to sort of give you awareness as you're scrolling through your Instagram feed, or as you're giving yourself a bit more space to react appropriately with a coworker, or you're trying to build more patience with your children, whatever the case is, right?
Right.
The type of work I do seems to penetrate sort of every avenue of life. So I love it, and it's I'm so grateful I get to do what I love and work with people sort of every day and make a living out of this. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and continuing to grow.
That's great. How many years have you been coaching
I actually opened in 2019.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so less than a year.
So
yeah.
A whole year.
And what motivated you to start in the first place?
Yeah, well, my educational background is actually in clinical psychology, and I was
cool.
For years my career path was to become a therapist, a clinical psychologist, and I guess I always had that drive or passion and a lot of fascination around, how the hell does the mind work?
Yeah, we still don't even know, right? We're still learning, constant learning.
Exactly. And I just wonder, I have this thing in my mind, with the social media now getting so popular, do you feel there's a higher demand? Like people coming to you and they need more help, finding actually more purpose and clarity and the space during the day? Because I don't feel we really give us the permission to have the space in a day. We usually fill it up with social media or something.
Well, it's so true. And it's actually, yes, to answer your question, but for good reasons, but also for some kind of inspiring reasons, right? So for sure, there's an increase in wanting mental clarity or wanting a little bit of decluttering and space and just going off the grid a little bit and, having some sanity restored by not always looking at a new comment or worrying about what you have to post.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the darker side. And, there's certainly work that can be done there. But there's also the flip side of that is people get inspired a lot more. People will see YouTube creators doing things that they've wanted to do, or, and we can get into this in a second, but even vegan channels, activists or vegan chefs that are starting something and using social media to start something to make an impact. And they get inspired by that. I know myself included. It inspires me as well. So I also work with people around that inspiration. They see a TED Talk or they see a YouTube channel video go viral and they're like, yeah, I know it's important to me, and I want to sort of get a voice out and sort of put a megaphone out and have people listen to what I have to say.
Start a podcast.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Sure,
case in point, right? Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
Yeah, for us, it's really important, to socialize, to have people on a show, to inspire other people.
Yeah, that's
But
why
we really
do it.
like the eye to eye as well, I'm also planning events, I'm a member of the Meatless Meetup. So I had an event yesterday that was fully packed, and it's just nice to also get to be around people, It's not
Connect,
just being all about on your computer and stuff and not really connecting with people,
for
eye
sure.
to eye. That's really important too, I find. And that's what I find people losing more and more, really socializing and connecting with people and staying in touch too, that's an art too, to stay in touch and to really nurture your friendships.
Relationships.
And have new friends, be open to new friends. Don't just have a circle of friends and that's it, I really like the idea of getting to know new people and really learning from them too. Everyone has a great story to share.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is something to be said that is unique about the eye-to-eye meeting, as you say, or in person sort of meeting. There's sort of an added level of connection that even if it's unspoken, you just feel it, And I agree. I think it can be that space or that time is sort of being lost, or you have to certainly put in more effort to see people in person than 10 years ago, 20 years ago. So, but yeah, I love that you do the Meatless meetups too.
Have you heard about it?
I have, yeah. I'm actually a member as well,
great.
but I didn't hear about the event last night. So
I can let you know next time.
Refresh my feed.
Yeah.
You can eat pizza buffet.
That was so amazing.
Okay, well, you better not tell me now. I'm going to be remiss to know I missed it.
I'm sure we do another event there.
We'll keep you posted next time, Julie.
For sure, please do.
Yeah, and then we can meet eye to eye too.
Yeah.
There you go. Wow, this has come full circle. Wow,
yeah, exactly.
I think we just finished the episode. How efficient.
Yeah, exactly. Well, tell us more about your plant-based journey. How did it start for you?
Well, it depends how far back we want to go. I think the easiest
all the way back
story arc, all the way. Oh yeah. So
you can miss
Tuesday, May 5th when I was born.
Shorten it,
May 5th. Precise.
So I guess it kind of actually started when I switched from clinical psychology to coaching, and I love clinical psych. I think clinical therapy does a lot of good for society, is important and is needed. But I noticed that everything I was learning in school was really useful stuff. I mean, it wasn't just learning about disorders or certain maladies, but even things like social psychology and how to be in group with people, or how to manage your time and how to put habits into place, how to follow through with goals. And I thought, this is useful stuff for me, my parents, my friends, pretty much everyone I know, not just 10% of the population, roughly 10% of the population that is quote unquote suffering or, deemed with some sort of disorder. So I kind of thought, well, what can I do with this? Psychology has so much to offer, and everyone is essentially a psychologist. If you have a mind or a brain, and you're conscious, you're in some way experimenting with it as you go through life, right? So I thought more about that and got into sort of the field of wellness, or at least moving from a disease model of healthcare, treating symptoms and just looking at what's wrong, to a wellness model of healthcare, right? Which is not just looking at what's wrong, but what's working well. And it's not just about treating symptoms, but preventing the causes in the first place, eradicating those causes.
Right.
So anyway, that was sort of in my head at the time, and I continued with my schooling and my training. And as I sort of progressed on that route, I thought of other areas as well that affect well-being. So not just understanding your psychology and setting goals, but things like physical exercise and working out and getting enough sleep and getting enough proper, adequate nutrition. And I was sort of, I had a bit of a research background, and I love digesting articles and analyzing stats and going through different methodologies. And I was also into biohacking at the time. So little tricks you can do that are sort of empirically supported, but that actually give you a cutting edge, give you an advantage to your lifestyle. Yeah. So this is a whole big cocktail of what was going on for me. But I remember this was about maybe 3-4 years ago. I was working out pretty intensely, and I was putting a lot of effort into my body, into my physical exercise, and so much so that I had pretty much maxed out every calorie I could use in the gym. So I had to look elsewhere for how can I continue to sort of optimize this. So I looked into sleep first and how to improve my sleep, and noticed I was getting, probably for all throughout university, even towards the end of high school, averaging about 5-6 hours of sleep a night, maybe. And I thought that was fine. I have never drank coffee in my life. I've tried it, but I've never drank it as a habit. So I'm used to just waking up tired and kind of carrying that feeling out throughout the day. But I have nothing else to compare it to, right? So I looked into that and I thought, wow, if I get even an hour and a half more of sleep each night, it makes such a difference in my day. So that was sort of my hypothesis. Right. And I put it to the test, and it was true. My functioning went up, and I woke up not feeling tired, which was kind of strange for me. But so I looked at that, and then I would, go back to my, after the gym, go back to my room, make some food, and thought I was eating, kind of healthy again, quote unquote, but having some fish or some chicken and not much fats, skim milk or plain yogurt before bed. Just all worried about protein and fats and carbs, right? The macronutrients. Yeah. And then I thought, it's funny that I've always been sort of health conscious, and I always used to read labels and try to eat, sort of cook my own food, not eat too refined. Yeah. But then I never really looked at any research. It was all sort of maybe common sense or secondhand research from friends. So I finally looked into it a little bit and just watched some YouTube videos on nutrition and diet. And I remember, I think it was your episode with Matt in the intro, you were talking about there's a lot of information out there, eat more meat, eat less meat. Joe Rogan saying you can't be a healthy vegan, and other researchers saying you can, right? So that was sort of where I was starting. I was like, oh my God, where do I even start here? Like, do I need a degree to start with nutrition? Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
But I just kind of started, and the theme, as I kept reading more articles, watching more videos, there was a theme of basically reducing meat, eating more vegetables, and not just for, again, I was coming from the angle of improving my workouts, right? So these were pretty much performance-based or athlete-based studies, but even for general populations, I was seeing these studies used or for elderly populations or youth populations. So that was kind of interesting to me. And then as I would, the way YouTube goes, I'd click on one and then I'd get recommended for 20 more similar videos.
The black hole of YouTube where it sucks you in. Yeah. You don't even know where the information's come from. It'll just be someone standing in front of a camera that you think knows what they're talking about, and they have no clue.
I've never studied nutrition ever.
Yeah, been there. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I'm still in it, I think. My laptop
they were yeah, right. Or they were plant-based, and now you watch. I just started watching a video yesterday of a guy. He was really like a guru vegan or whatever, and now he's like telling us like, oh yeah, I'm eating like 1 pound of fish or whatever he was saying.
Liver.
And then liver, eggs, fertilized eggs, and he said like, oh, the vegan diet ruined me. My body, I have to rebuild now. And
wow.
But if you ever looked at the research, we don't want to put names on.
I'll tell you later.
But we'll tell you later.
Yeah.
But,
okay. Tell me at the Meatless Meetup.
Yeah, right. But the research, I mean, it's like you learn all these things, you research, and then all of a sudden you might read something, and you're going to throw all of that away. All the pieces of the puzzle for one little piece. And you're like, I don't understand people that do that.
Right.
Because it's like you have the research, you've been looking it up, everything is leading that way, less meat, more vegetables. They tell you that. We can all agree on that. I think everybody can pretty much agree that less meat, more vegetables, just in what, ratio, right? But when they go the other way, I'm thinking, does that not just contradict like everything that you've learned your entire
and you were teaching, and you were teaching us on your YouTube videos that if you eat meat, you feed your parasites. And hello, you know what you're doing right now? Like, I mean, there again, you see the comments, you read the comments, and you get sucked into them. But there's like so much where I'm like saying, exactly, that's what I would say. I usually don't comment too much on this stuff because then people judge you, it's like in that
Stay
circle.
Out of the comments section,
I don't need to justify myself, about why I think that way, but there's like too much trolling going on online, and
for sure.
I don't really like to be sucked in. I have better things to do.
Yeah, we can put our energy towards more positive things instead of fighting someone who won't listen to evidence-based research or scientific evidence. So
some people just believe what they think is true, right? Like once they think, oh, I'm thinking this one, so it is true because I'm thinking that. So you can't fight that off. Like, good luck.
Yeah,
it's so true. I mean, you can't. How do you reason with someone who doesn't value reason?
Exactly.
How do you argue with someone who? What evidence can you give someone who doesn't value evidence?
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's where I said, well, tell me what would make you, believe whatever I'm telling you. And if they say something and I give it to them and they still discredit it and it's scientific evidence, then I said, I'm not even going to talk to you because you won't even take science at face value. So what's the point of debating?
Which is huge, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and that's one of the, it was sort of surprising to me, or I wasn't expecting this would be something that I would cover in my own coaching and in workshops I give as well. But there's financial literacy as well as statistical literacy. They're not really taught in schools.
Right. What does that mean?
Unless you specialize.
Can you explain
Sure. So financial literacy is even in high school, having like a basic course on money management, or how to track your spending, or how to create your own budget. Just anyone can use that, right?
Right.
And if spending and your finances is such a critical, not the only thing, but a critical component to well-being, having financial stability at least, how is that not being taught, in schools? But I think the same is true of statistical literacy, and not just being able to understand what the difference between median and average and standard deviation, but how stats are used to present news and to present a lot of findings, whether they're health findings or political findings. So there's a little bit of that covered in maybe through high school, mildly, and maybe some math classes.
I think you can have that in Germany.
They start to do it in university, where you actually get down and start to realize, okay, this is what research is. This is how you read research and how you write research. That's when you tend to know it. But you're right. High school,
if you study more scientific,
you just have to believe what they say, and that's it.
Yeah,
like they don't teach you how to critically think. And I think that's the problem, right? They want you to learn a certain thing. They don't want you to really kind of critically think outside of the box almost in high school.
Yeah.
But when you get to university, that's where like people flourish, when they have their creativity and they're able to actually expand because they're allowed to there, right? And
so true.
Be turned down. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly right? And when you think about it, it's kind of, what kind of system is that where critical thinking is kept behind a paywall?
Yeah.
And you have to pay tuition of university, and then you have to
pay to get your opinion heard or your research or whatever. Sounds a little different, but I'll kind of curb myself there before I go on a side rant, but that was something I kind of covered with not even just clients, even just friends. It's conversations I tend to have with my family as well. How do you sort of take information at face value, or how do you use critical thinking, as you were just saying, Shane? So, that was very important to me throughout my academic career, and I was basically reading articles and being trained how to review information like that, and how to process different methodology, statistics, and broad claims. So that was sort of my background at the time and my obsession. So, and because of that, it took me about, I think, between 6 to 8 months to actually make the transition to start eating plant-based, because I think about 6 to 8 months before I made the transition, I came across maybe the first article on something to do with fish. I think it was around fish oils and then mercury levels and heavy metal levels in fish. So that kind of caught my eye. And then that led to another article around fish protein and then animal protein and the quality of protein that you're getting, not just the quantity. As I was obsessed over quantity for sure when I was working out, overly obsessed. And I think I was getting trying to get between 150 to 200 grams of protein a day. And I'm like 5'9". I used to do the same thing.
160 pounds. So,
and now I don't even have protein powders or anything now.
Yeah, me neither. It's wild. Oh, wow. And I'm healthier than I ever was. And stronger than I ever was.
I feel like I'm healthier and stronger. And if I have a bit of protein powder, I'd maybe get a bit more gains. But I honestly think I'm on a good path.
You guys sound similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we have the same kind of journey that we kind of were on.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, and it was looking back, it's crazy to think, right? It's just the things that you'll do when you're.
I didn't build any more muscle than I did now, and the bro science said more protein equals more muscle, and you get it in your head, and then you realize you're like, well, why am I eating all this protein? I'm not building any more muscle, to a certain extent. It's only a threshold of how much, then it's just wasted.
And it turns into fat, anyways, when you have too much protein. So,
but the protein companies are smart. They know that you should take more and more, and they bro scienced it so that people would buy more and more protein powders, which technically is a byproduct of the dairy industry.
Oh, the way
that they were going to throw it away anyway.
Exactly.
So, boom, very resourceful companies, I'll tell you.
They are
sneaky.
It's
they
pretty,
use psychology again.
Oh, there you go.
NLP and stuff like that. We know.
Don't get me started about the gelatin or the other byproduct.
Oh, right.
And then sell it to
it's
kids.
Called collagen
Sell
now.
it to the bodybuilders and sell the other stuff to the kids. Yeah. Anyways, I don't want to get.
Okay, well, we'll have to have another.
That's more
another
about the gelatin, right? The gelatin and candies, and then sell it to the kids, right? Who's eating most candies? Probably kids are wanting it, right? Marketing. So that's a very, like, nothing is wasted in that industry for sure.
Oh, all the byproducts, it's all money, right? It makes money.
But they sell it to you in collagen. Everyone's got a boost of collagen by eating collagen, where I don't think there's very much evidence that really suggests that. So, but anyways, on to the next topic. Like, we could talk about this for days.
But for you, it was more like a nutritional, how would you say, like that you became plant-based, right? Like from a
health system.
Yeah, health.
And then you started learning about animals maybe and how they're treated and stuff. Yeah.
Pretty much for you too. Like for Shane, it was like, wasn't it like the egg that was like you were kind of craving?
I was really craving eggs at the end.
It was really funny. Tell Kyle what happened with that.
Oh yeah, then I just realized I needed some B12. I took a B12 supplement and I stopped craving eggs.
And it was gone, right? The craving.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that would be like a month or 2 months. I'm like, oh, I have this huge craving for like eggs. And then I was like, maybe I'm just deficient in something. And then I was like, I should probably be taking a B12. You start doing research. And then I started taking a B12, higher dose B12, and yeah, I didn't even crave them anymore and haven't looked back.
Really?
Since. Yeah.
That's so funny because my dad recently was craving eggs. And I was like, really? That's what you miss? And he's like, I don't know why. I just miss like a good scrambled egg. I'm like, tofu scramble is maybe the easiest vegan thing to make. So I made that for him and it kind of did the craving away. But maybe I should have sprinkled in some... actually, I used a lot of nutritional yeast, so maybe it was.
Maybe,
do you use like the black salt for the scrambled eggs? That's really amazing. It has a very eggy, like the sulfur coming out. You know, that you use this one too. Yeah,
it's the kalinamak.
Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's what it's called.
The
the Pakistani. Usually, it's from Pakistan. Yeah.
It smells like sulfury. Smells eggy,
it's high in sulfur. Yeah, but I love that one. Like for our chickpea omelette, we use it too. It's so good.
Yeah, it just adds that, I don't know, very unique taste.
Yeah, it just reminds me.
Well, for sure. It gives that full flavor.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought of, there's so many routes I could go to. I used to work at Meat in Gastown, the kind of like comfort food restaurants here in Vancouver.
Right.
And we used to use the blacks of the kalinamak in one of the, it's kind of like a lemon mousse dessert.
Oh yeah.
So it's even good for the sweet tooth. Anyway.
Wow. That's a cool thought. I've never thought about using it as a sweet dessert.
Yeah.
It's a pretty sweet ingredient. Yeah, it's cool. It kind of gets the job done. But sorry, that reminded me just because, well, actually, speaking of my dad, he when I made the decision to go plant-based, it was essentially overnight. So it was about 6 to 8 months in the making of kind of, it was on my mind and maybe someday I'll do it, or hopefully I can keep digging and find an argument that will kind of beat plant-based. I don't have to change, you know? Yeah. And I never could. I kept digging. I really, really wanted to, I mean, talk about cherry picking research. I was cherry picking as well as I could to find articles that disproved or didn't support eating plant-based, or that supported continuing to eat fish or leaner meats like chicken, and I just couldn't find it. Or I could find articles but see through them, you know, like
when you read the research and their methods, and they're like comparing someone who eats a bunch of meat and then they added a bunch of meat to their diet and it didn't change anything, and you're like, well, that's a horrible comparison. I'm like, why wouldn't you compare to someone that doesn't eat meat to someone who's going to eat more meat? But there was never a comparison in that research.
Or even seeing really, really compelling stuff, like a randomized controlled trial, sort of the gold standard of research, right? And seeing meta-analyses, so studies of, tens or hundreds of other studies, and sort of getting a theme from them, deriving sort of pattern from what all these studies are saying. So finding meta-analyses of randomized controlled trials that supported plant-based eating and that showed, landmark studies like prevention, even reversal of cardiovascular disease and diabetes, and it's just overwhelming to me. And I thought that can't be true. I mean, that's such a huge claim, and there's no way that they could show that, or else it would just be blown up. It would be so much more famous.
Right.
And I read them myself, and I kept reviewing them, and it was supported by other doctors, other researchers. So that was kind of a bit of a tipping point for me. And then the biggest tipping point was watching How Not to Die, Dr. Michael Greger's lecture that he gives every year. I think it was the 2016 version I saw on YouTube, and it was just 1 hour lecture. I got about 10 minutes in, and I think by that point I didn't know, but I had decided. And then I finished the lecture. I had to just turn off the TV, and it was about maybe midnight. I was just in the basement, and just sitting there in the dark, just not doing anything for like 10 minutes, kind of letting it hit me. And then I decided, okay, when I wake up, I'll no longer eat animal products. I'll be plant-based. So it was, again, it was an overnight decision, and I went cold turkey and haven't looked back over 3 years later. But, it did take, I recommend being skeptical and having sort of a tight lens by which to view any research, any evidence, but especially any major life transition you're going to make.
Exactly.
And, and I enjoy when people sort of test me, or they want to know more, or there's sort of conflicting research.
I love that too, because they haven't been able to kind of, like, if you can show me the research, go ahead.
Right. And I mean, I have been...
I haven't seen it.
Right.
That says eating more meat is better for you. So...
Yeah.
Exactly. I've been vegan since 2000, I'm still alive, but I'm not like surviving, I'm thriving, so.
That's good.
Yeah.
Speaking about thriving, what's part of your mental health, regime and your lifestyle to help you, go around your day to day, and how do you incorporate maybe your plant-based journey and what you learned in there to help with your mental health?
Well, I have quite a few things. Again, I was really into biohacking and setting up a lot of personal development hacks, and then I ended up making a career out of it. So I could take a few days to answer that for you, but the
just a couple points that you do.
Yeah.
I
think the biggest
things. Yeah.
Well, it's exactly that. It's routine. Right. And some people like myself love that word. Some people hate it, right? Just being sort of cornered.
I'm not really a big fan of it, but it depends.
Yeah.
I love routine, Julia.
Depends. There
we go. Right. Well, I think a better word that I found is just a structure, or like kind of a backbone, right? Of how you can go from your day to day. I love spontaneity, but deciding my entire day, every day from scratch is, I find it draining, and I like it sometimes, even on holiday or vacation with nothing planned for after like a week, I do enough meditating where I can enjoy just being in the present. But after a while, I mean, it's a lot of decision making to figure out everything you're going to do in the day, and to, start your day.
Yeah, good point.
Comes a job
in a way that wakes you up. Yeah, exactly.
Job in itself. Yeah,
exactly.
What do I do today? Do this. Yeah,
exactly. And especially if you have a lot of opportunities or a lot of different things you could do, you have to kind of plan them, right? And they don't all just fall into place without any planning. So I only preface that to say I highly value spontaneity and sort of being in the moment and doing things as they go, but also a little bit of planning and having some structure. So the biggest thing for my mental health is and clarity is a routine or structure that I put in place. So I have a few habits that I continue to work on. One is, of course, my diet. The diet has such a huge impact on your body, but also your physical, your mental well-being. Right. So, and that was, eating plant-based kind of covers that easily, as long as I'm keeping whole food plant-based. I feel the effects. The mental fog is kind of lifted, and I have an energy to keep me going. There's also, I do workouts, try to keep my body moving every day. And I do a lot of cycling here in Vancouver. I'm actually from Toronto. So I moved here about 2.5 years ago. And oh my God, the cycling here is just nuts. I can't get over it. I'm near the ocean. I'm near the mountains.
It's
quite the paradise.
It's quite different, I guess, than the urban jungle of Toronto. Don't you guys have the lake there, though, don't you? Or it's not the same?
Yeah, and there's a waterfront trail. It's amazing, but, I'm
no
10
mountains.
minutes biking.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No mountains on the other side, though, I don't think.
No.
Yeah, it's pretty flat.
More flatness.
As far as I remember, I went there once,
Yeah.
But it feels like you're in the States for some reason when I'm in Toronto. Yeah, it feels really like it gives me like a States vibe.
Concrete jungle,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing, right? I love urban density and being around people and a lot of things to do. And I miss Toronto for the size. Right. But that's another part of my routine. Having some sort of like social outing or some sort of contact with other people as part of my day to day. I get that through work as well. But more even on terms of seeing friends as well and not being on the job. So yeah, having like some sort of physical workout or physical routine, keeping my diet on point, and seeing other people, interacting with other people, kind of like what you were referring to, the eye to eye, right?
Right.
It's so easy to, I have my own business, right? So I can speak firsthand. It's so easy to spend like 2 or 3 days and I don't even leave my apartment or see anyone.
Exactly.
Right. And, there's some burst of creativity and productivity that I love about that, but there's also something to be said about just the need to be with people and to share and to interact. So, for mental health and mental wellness, diet, as well as contact with other people and just sharing, being in group, as well as like a physical workout and just moving my body. There's also sort of micro habits or smaller habits that I do every day. And one of the best, most effective habits that I started about 3 years ago was meditating. And, there's kind of a buzzword and there's a lot of hype and a lot of good things, a lot of bad things, a lot of confusion around it. But the most straightforward thing is just having a practice where I put some time aside in my day to just pay attention to the present moment. And it's simple, but the effect on mental clarity, on focus, on this idea of equanimity. So when I was talking earlier about not having to react to everything, but being able to give yourself time to respond to traffic or being embarrassed in a meeting, whatever it is, or having a presentation go off track, or your children are fighting and you're just trying to make dinner, whatever the case is. Meditating was and continues to be one of the biggest habits, I would say, or you can call it a hack for mental wellness, for sure. And one of my favorite things, my favorite thing about that one in particular is it also improves the people around me, or it improves or it contributes to the well-being of those around me. So when I'm not overwhelmed, and when I'm more patient with people, it just kind of sets the atmosphere better, right? They can enjoy their time with me more, and it impacts their mental well-being. Or if I'm always irritated and kind of snappy, that impacts my mental wellness as well as the people I'm around, right?
Exactly.
So definitely.
So I love that sort of, it's almost like a pay it forward effect. You're taking care of myself through finding calmness and finding just peace with whatever's going on right now. And that bleeds out into the people I interact with as well. Again, that's quite clear in my coaching. I'm a better coach when I'm more stable, and it doesn't matter what is being said at me. I can be with it and be with the person. They can be with themselves too. And sometimes the content gets very personal, very heavy, or very uplifting, right? Whatever the tone of the conversation, when I'm sort of in that state and continuing with meditating and continuing to keep my own mental well-being in check, it allows others to do the same. So that's, again, I literally have a bullet journal that I keep every day. I just made a new one last night as well of my daily goals and habits, and it's about 20 lines each day. So
wow,
I'll Cliff's notes it for you, but those seem to be the most impactful. Yeah.
That sounds powerful. So I have another question about seniors, because I find they have a more harder time usually to keep mental health, because they don't really like change too much. And like, what do you suggest for them, but like deep inside, they kind of want to change, but they're scared, but they still feel stuck, because they're not really willing to change and work on like getting motivated and have purposes. I'd say sometimes when you get older, you lose your hobbies, you just tend to have a more simple life. You just want to watch TV, eat and sleep and go outside for a walk.
Right.
Right. That's it.
I just want to clarify. You said seniors, right?
Yeah.
Like a senior population. Yeah. Well, it's so true, right? And most people derive meaning from their life or purpose from their life based on what they do for a living, right? And whether they think about that explicitly or not, how people spend most of their time is usually working. And, as humans, we're wired for meaning. We're wired for purpose, right? Everyone wants to live a life that they think is meaningful or have some meaning in it, right? So unless you actually kind of put time aside and think about that and work through what gives you meaning, what's the purpose? What's the impact I want to have on the world and contribute my life to? Unless you take time to do that, it's very easy to lose sight of, right? So it's a good point. You've reached the age of retirement, and everyone thinks it's freedom, right? And the most common thing.
What do I do?
Yeah, what do I do?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have a purpose.
There's no structure really in life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's funny that we were just talking about routine, right? Some people love it, some people hate it, but most people. Everyone values freedom for sure, and the ability to choose your own schedule and to choose your life essentially and how you spend it. But wait till you retire and you have you have 40 weeks, 40 hours of your week back. And
I can't even imagine. Really, like
it's
I don't
wild.
Even know. I don't know what I would do. I'd go crazy. I'd have to make a routine of something.
Shane just stayed like at home on Wednesday because of the snowfall. He was like, okay, I gotta get out now. I gotta shovel out the snow. I can't stand it. I can't be in here anymore. Yeah. But
we're in the era of Netflix too, right? I guarantee you, no matter how much you love Netflix, after that first week or month, you've pretty much you've seen all of the internet by that point. I mean, there's something you're going to be left with the question of not just what am I going to do, but why am I going to do it? Why am I going to do anything? Right? Because there's certainly a lot of things you can choose on how to spend your time. What should I do today? You can find a litany of answers online or through friends or make anything up.
Right.
But the underlying question around all of that, and this tends to be true with senior populations who have either just retired or their loved ones have died or their friends have passed away, where they're kind of left forced to look at the self. Well, why am I going to do anything? I could, I don't know, I could go play pool today, or I could go do acro yoga or, whatever it is. But why do I want to do that? Right. And I'm actually glad you brought this question up, because that question is true regardless of your age. That question, that underlying question, why am I going to do this? Right. If your answer to it is sort of, because, I got to make a living, or my family depends on me, or, X, Y, and Z, it's sort of a material answer or an answer that is extrinsic to your own motivation. You'll realize early on and very quickly that it's not enough of an answer, right? And you're kind of left with the question of, why am I doing what I'm doing? And I don't really know. So with retired populations, for example, they tend to travel and kind of explore things they never got to do when they were younger. And usually through that, they find, not just travel, but just through this exploration and this whole process in general, they find that it's spending time with people they love. And that number tends to dwindle right? As you get older, right? More of your friends pass away, more loved ones pass away.
Right.
But it just makes the time you spend with loved ones that are still here with you more important, right? Which then leads into more sort of mindfulness, more being with people in the present moment instead of, thinking about what I'm going to do tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. So there's still the question of, why am I going to do what I'm going to do? And this is really a question of purpose, right? And the question of meaning. So I love talking about this because this is part of what I do, right?
But, it gets everyone, no one will escape. I like to think about these things, when I'm like super old. Well,
a lot of people don't think about it, right?
But I like, I like to think about life, and like in a philosophy way. I just love thinking about stuff, and putting myself in different situations and see how I would handle it. Or I love spending time with old people too, because they have so many stories to tell, and it's just amazing what they went through wars. They helped, like, I have some relatives in Italy. I mean, he died like when he was 96 or something, but he told me stories where he helped people in Africa, build a village and stuff like that. But it put a smile on his face, because he had so much purpose in life, and he did. He helped others.
It's also having a connection with people. I always think humans as we're like cows, we're herd animals. We don't like to really be alone.
But there are, I know some.
There is, but from what the research we've seen is that community is very responsible for how long people live.
Yeah.
I think it has a huge effect. So, I mean, those people might be there living by themselves, but we're talking about the majority of people probably like to be around people. That's why we live in a giant city with giant millions of people.
Yeah.
Right? It's just,
it's so true.
It's what we're wired to do. We're animals too. I think we forget we're animals sometimes.
Exactly.
But we definitely have those traits.
Right. Doesn't mean we have to go all the way carnivore diet, no, just because we feel like we're like Autobots, which is trending, kind of, I guess. But
well, and even the fact how social we are and how wired we are to be social. I mean, that was one of our greatest evolutionary advantages, right? The fact that we're the best species. And take it with a grain of salt these days, but we're still overall the best species at cooperating, right?
Totally.
We can do
build societies,
anything in masses.
We built laws to keep humans alive.
We build a language too, many different languages. Yeah. That's quite an achievement. And the writing, ABCs or whatever it is, math, and it's quite amazing. Yeah. Oh man, we could. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, and that's inner DNA, and you were asking. What can senior populations do, right? If they have lost a sense of meaning or they're sort of struggling to find one. This is also true you find with depressed populations as well. It's not just about, just get out of bed and do something and say, yeah, but why am I going to do it?
Right.
Again, if people suffering from depression tend to think there's just no point to anything. There's no point of doing it because it's not that I don't know what I could do today. I could plan a whole day, but what's the point?
Yeah.
Because there's no why, right?
But so true.
And this is also true for people who suffer from depression or go through bouts, especially this time of year with seasonal affect disorder through the winter and the rain and the snow, which is blowing my mind. I thought I left Toronto with the snow, but
it's okay. It's raining today. It'll be gone by tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
But one of the greatest things you can do is be with people, right? And is to share. Whatever that means for you, right? Whether you're recently retired, you have all this free time, and you're sharing stories with friends, with grandchildren, whatever, the mailman, whatever. It's just sharing and understanding, recognizing you have an impact in your community and in the world. That gives meaning to most people, or at least it starts to extract meaning and sort of build it. The same with you struggling with depression, right? Why would I do anything, and what can I do? Well, two of the greatest things you can do, one is just move your body. So even if it's going for a walk or pacing around the house or doing a run or whatever it is, move your body some way. One of the best things you can do to get your body back into the swing of things. The other one is spending time with people, right? So, and I've used this myself. I have friends who have gone through bouts of depression as well, where the easiest way out is, and the quickest and most effective way and most enjoyable way out is booking something with someone as often as you can. So I have a friend who he books some sort of meetup with someone every day. And even that can be hard in itself, but it's just making the plan and surrounding yourself with friends who are willing to meet up and people who will meet up. And you'll find within a few days, even depending on how severe the depression is, you start to come back into things. And it's more like, it's not just you feel better, but the why gets answered. It's like, well, I've always known what I could do, but now I'm starting to see again why I would do things. Like the future looks brighter, and that's just, I could explain that, but that's an experience. You just feel that because it's so part of our DNA to belong, to be in community, to share with people. Right. And I just want to touch on that because it's true of, diet as well. And plant-based, one of the reasons I love it is just all the layers to it. Right. Yes, it helps your body, function, properly and effectively, and for a lot of people in better ways they even knew it could function. But there's also I call it the dimension of other. So it's not just about the self, but thinking about other, right? When you know your impact on the world has meaning and is being more compassionate to other human animals as well as to other non-human animals, that does something in you. Just the fact of knowing that does something for most people without even trying. It triggers that longing for need and that hardwired drive to contribute to others, to knowing that your existence is better for others. Again, you can explain that, you can try to word that, but if you're human, you'll just feel that. Right. That will have an effect on you, knowing that the impact you're having in your life is bettering, is helping others.
So true.
Right?
Or even things that you can't change, you got to accept it. Say if we all die or our loved ones. Like I remember when I was 3 or 4, I was already contemplating about like, oh, are you all guys gonna, like I grew up in a big family and I'm thinking, are you all gonna die first and then I'm the last because I'm the youngest? I mean, it's not always the case, but I was like scared of that. And sometimes I'm still thinking of it, but that's part of like, you got to accept, right? And you can't change it. Like everyone's gonna die, I mean, some gonna die more like in a sad way than others, but
well, and it's again such a good point because it even speaking from my own experience, when I thought about death or even thought about again relating to before I transitioned to plant-based, thinking about my impact, what's my actual impact on the world, right? I have my own values, but how do my behaviors align with those values? And to understand that I love living, I love being alive, but then to find out, well, it's not going to be forever. I'm going to die, and everyone I know is going to die. Or, I value compassion, I value sustainability, I value eating healthy, but my diet is actually having the opposite impact on myself and the world. One of the leading causes of climate change and, suffering caused to other creatures. That's tough to take at first. That's like a bit of a gut punch for just to accept that. But you're so right. Once you accept it, it's actually empowering.
Yeah, to know that peace,
Yeah, and almost excited. Like, it's kind of weird to say, but I part of my own philosophy is a lot of influenced by Stoicism as well, right? And Stoicism is constantly reflecting on death. Wake up in the morning and I tell myself, okay, I could die today, but it's not from a point of negativity, but it excites me. It's like, today could be the last day I'm alive. How do I want to spend it? Wow. So I have some choice over how I can spend it. Right, I can go meet up with that person today, or I can blow them off. I can follow through on those plans, or I could. Or
you spend all your money in the bank. Why not? Could be your last day.
Yeah. Well, there's again, the structuralist of me, or the routine guy in me, loves to still plan forward. But
right.
But I mean, the point is, I find it empowering, right? And the same is true and why I was excited to, and it did it overnight, and I was excited to tell my parents to go plant-based, was because, in any election, I vote with my ballot, right? And I have some say in the matter, however small, right? Well, the same is true. Anytime I eat, I vote with my fork, right? So I can think about the impact that I'm not just having in my life, but I'm having in the world, and I can make huge changes just with my fork, just with what I put in my mouth. So I find that really empowering, and even almost more empowering than voting in a democracy. I do it way more often, and I don't have to be 18 years or older.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I see that too.
Yeah. So is there any exciting future plans, and where can the listeners find you?
I have a few things on the go, quite a few projects. One is I'm expanding my coaching frontiers through more international clients as well. So
nice.
So
we'll make sure to put you up on a website.
Yeah.
So that'd be great.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I was interested in just learning another language when I first traveled a few years back, and my first time traveling, and came back, decided to learn Spanish. So I'm sort of launching into Latin American markets soon.
Oh, great.
Which will be really exciting, and it's just fun to more and more realize wellness is wellness wherever you are, and every culture gets that, and there's nuances, and just a lot of fun there. So I'll be expanding my coaching practice through there. I'm also and I've kind of had this realization a few months back, but I realized I love working with vegans, with people who think about the impacts they're having on the world and want to grow that impact. So part of a newer direction for my coaching business will be geared towards vegan entrepreneurs or people who want to help transition their current businesses to through a plant-based lens, either switching to vegan products or catering to vegans.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of exciting. Yeah.
That's a great.
I actually have an interesting spot for you. Like, we have speakers on our Meatless Meetup sometimes. I don't know if you know Visanto Medina. She has a co-op, and maybe you can talk there sometimes, have a talk. And
she usually has people that have talks and stuff like that.
We should definitely hook you up there. It's really cool. Co-housing
that would
place.
be fantastic. Yeah,
I can see people getting interested in that too.
For sure.
Especially the mental health aspect. Yeah.
Well, and that's sort of the core of who I am, right? So it's always fun to meet people and sort of keep it going, right? But that's my coaching side, the professional side. I also have a few passion projects of leading some meditation workshops. So in the works of bringing that to companies like Lululemon, and just sort of keeping this conversation going and combining it with yoga. But I also want to do that on a public sector as well, public scale. So let you know if any of those workshops come out. But the one I'm most excited for is an online plant-based meal prep course. It's a mouthful, but
cool.
We're in the works of making that probably released by 2021.
Oh, wow. What's going on?
So early stages now, but really, really excited for that. It's going to be probably about an 8-week course, teaching quite a few things, but the three main things is essentially how to cook, and also how to meal prep and sort of plan and eat for less money and more affordably, but eat healthier as well. And then how to eat plant-based. It will be a plant-based course, right? So really excited for that. And,
that sounds really exciting.
Yeah, you're busy.
Yeah,
you got a busy
you're
year.
So
things are busy.
Yeah, good person to bring on for their first podcast of the year.
Exactly, totally right. I feel like so pumped up now just talking with you, and we could talk for hours. Like this, we have so much in common. I feel we have a really good vibe going on here.
I love it. I'd love to meet in person as well.
We should.
Definitely. Grab a coffee.
I know the only thing as well, you asked where to find me. It's pretty simple. I'm Kyle Shea Coaching, all one word, pretty much on all social media platforms. My website is kylesheacoaching.com, all one word, and that's Shea, Shea. So you can send me a message on Facebook or an email. at info@kylesheacoaching.com. Visit my website, whatever you feel like doing. But I'm around, easy to find, and this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed, as I said at the start of the show, what you're both up to.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, thanks for your time, to spend with us and to inspire our listeners, it was amazing, and keep on doing what you're doing, because you're really on a great path, journey, whatever you want to call it.
Definitely.
I appreciate it a lot. Yeah. And back at you.
Thank you.
It's important work. I'm actually, I'm on my way in about an hour to the Cube of Truth to do some vegan activism.
Oh, perfect.
If any of your listeners are familiar, then they'll know where to find us. But it's 2020 has been a good year. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for being such a light to this world, and beyond, and keep on doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Great talking
to you.
Thank
you so much. Yeah. All the best. Thanks to you both.
Yeah.
You too.
Take care.
Ciao.